Hi! Happy November, everybody. A little irritated. I just tried to record this already and the file was corrupted or something. Something went wrong. So this is fun. I have another book for you guys to break down. This is again from the Disturbing Books Iceberg. I'll link that in the description. Today I offer you The Kill Riff by David J. Schow. I hope I'm saying his name right. Before I begin, I want to say that I do recommend reading this book. It's a lot of fun. It's a wild ride. The ending is a tad anticlimactic, but other than that, it's a great read overall. That being said, I am going to spoil the shit out of it here, so if you feel so inclined, save this breakdown until after you've read it. Like many of my breakdowns, I do intentionally leave out some details to entice you to look into the book further. But if you care about finding out who lives or dies, you may want to skip this video for now. Lucas Ellington is a Vietnam War vet who is checking out of a mental health facility when we first meet him. His daughter Kristen had been trampled to death at a concert for the heavy metal act Whip Hand, and he is still really struggling with the loss. He blames the band, which is one of the reasons why he checked himself into the mental health facility to begin with. After a judge had found the band not guilty of any wrongdoing, Lucas stopped the singer of the band, Gabriel Stannard, on the courthouse steps. He had pulled out a toy pistol from his jacket and pointed it at the man. "You're dead," Lucas threatened before Gabriel's security detail apprehended him. That had been about a year ago, and Lucas is now a free man. As he checks out, he talks with his doctor/love interest, Sarah. He's happy to be out of her care so he can properly date her now. We also discover that before Kristen's death, Lucas's ex-wife, Kristen's mother, Corey, had killed herself by overdosing on pills. Her suicide note was addressed to Lucas, reading, "Rotten hell, this is all your fault." After checking out, he goes to visit Bert, his boss/war buddy. They talk about Vietnam things, and he explains to Bert that he'll be taking some time off before getting back to work. Lucas explains to Bert that he plans to go stay up in his cabin for a few months to process everything. Bert tells him, of course, take all the time you need, and Bert is the only person that he's told about this plan, and he makes him promise not to tell Sarah where he is. We then switch to Gabriel's point of view as he is firing his bow and arrow on his large property. Horace, his friend/personal assistant, I think, informs him that Lucas has been checked out of the mental facility. Gabriel puts on a tough guy act and pretends not to be worried about it before shooting an arrow directly through one of his TV sets. Lucas settles into his cabin and goes to the local record shop to inquire about Whip Hand's current whereabouts. He learns that the band split up and they are each involved with other acts except for Gabriel, who went solo. He stores his plans and weapons inside a locked room in his cabin. The first member on Lucas's kill list is Jackson Knox. Lucas, disguised as a roadie, plants a landmine in Knox's amp and hooks it to one of the foot pedals. The amp explodes during soundcheck and shrapnel rips Knox to shreds. One day, while Lucas is at his cabin preparing for his next victim, a random woman knocks on his door, and she looks like she has been hit by a fucking truck. She's battered and bruised, one of her eyes is swollen shut, and she looks just a mess. He patches her up and lets her sleep. In the morning, she introduces herself. Her name is Cass, and she's 23 years old. For reference, Kristen would have been about 20 at this time. Cass had apparently cheated on her abusive boyfriend, Reese, who took her out to the woods, beat her, and left her for dead. After wandering in the woods for some time, Cass happened upon Lucas's cabin. She begs Lucas to let her stay, and since she reminds him of Kristen, Lucas agrees. He tells her about Corey and Kristen and tells her that he's hiding from his other crazy ex-wife, Sarah, who might be trying to track down his cabin, and that she's not allowed in when he's gone. With that, Lucas leaves Cass alone in the cabin and catches a flight to Denver for his next victim, Brian Hardin. Lucas finagles his way into Brian's hotel and calls up to Brian's room. Lucas tells him that some of his equipment fell from the back of the truck and that Brian needs to come to Lucas's hotel room right away to assess the damage. Once Brian gets there, Lucas stabs him repeatedly, and once Brian is dead, Lucas writes something about Rock being of the devil on the walls to throw off police. Once he gets back to the cabin, he and Cass talk some more before Cass full-on kisses Lucas on the mouth. Though Lucas enjoys it, he's still reminded of his daughter, and he goes off to bed. With 2 of the band members dead, Sarah is definitely starting to suspect Lucas in the murders, but she doesn't want to call the police just yet. Instead, she convinces Bert to take her to Lucas's cabin. Lucas is now off to take care of his next 2 victims, Pepper Hartz and Jackal Rickman, who are performing that night with their new band. Outside of the venue, there was a religious protest going on, distracting people from seeing him get inside. He has his sniper rifle all set up on the catwalk type thing, and the concert is in full swing, but before Lucas can pick off his targets, another madman with a gun begins to shoot at all of the members of the band. Back at the cabin, Sarah and Bert meet Cass. Cass believes Sarah is his ex-wife and that Bert is her attorney, so she basically tells them to fuck off. Sarah tries to explain that she's Lucas's doctor, but Cass isn't hearing any of it. Bert is a little more diplomatic, so Cass eventually tells them, look, I'm just watching his cabin. He should be back in about a month. Right after Sarah and Bert leave, Cass's crazy ex-boyfriend Reese shows up carrying an axe. Sarah and Bert decide that Sarah should go back home for her job, while Bert stays to stake out the cabin. He mentions getting one of the rangers to go back with him. They talk briefly about Cass being a surrogate for Kristen, or maybe even Corey. Meanwhile, Reese forces his way inside the cabin and explains that he's been watching her and knows that she's alone. He also demands to know what's in the padlocked room. He axes down the door, and while he's distracted, Cass goes for a gun that she found earlier in the kitchen. She fires several times and hits him twice, blowing his arm clean off at the elbow. While this is happening, Gabriel is busy preparing for a showdown. He wants to get Lucas before Lucas can get him. Lucas makes it home, and Cass tells him what happened. She also says that she figured out what he's up to based on the plans she discovered in his padlocked room, and she doesn't care that he's a murderer. They share a kiss and proceed to make love by the fire. David J. Schow ends the description of passionate sex with the words, "Kristen had not been as good in bed." While that's happening, Sarah puts in a call to the police, and it turns out that her hunch about Cass being a surrogate for Kristen was not far off. As Cass lay naked by the fire, Lucas bashes her brains in with a piece of firewood. Now she was dead, just like Corey and just like Kristen. Next, we switch to Ranger Lubbock's point of view. Bert has asked him to go up to Lucas's cabin with him in hopes that someone in uniform can convince Cass to talk. Unfortunately for them, Lucas's house is booby-trapped and the 2 are killed in an explosion. Next, we switch point of views again, this time to Joshua, a private detective hired by Gabriel to watch over Sarah's house. We find out that Lucas has in fact broken in and is holding Sarah at gunpoint. Joshua makes the call to Gabriel, letting him know that it's go time. Lucas confesses everything to Sarah, the murders, the relationship with Kristen, and we even find out that Lucas had held Corey at knife point and forced her to consume all of those pills. So her death really was his fault. Though he claims that it was Kristen's idea because Corey was about to expose their relationship. Gabriel shows up just as Lucas had been expecting, and they both end up shooting each other at the same time. Gabriel survives, Lucas does not. The ending is a flash forward 2 years later. Gabriel is now walking with a cane, and he's filming a scene for a movie that he is starring in. And that's pretty much it. Again, I glossed over some things just in case you guys do want to check out the book, which I think that you should. I had a lot of fun with it. It was absolutely bonkers in the best way possible. Next video, or no, here in about 3 days will mark the 1-year anniversary since I uploaded my first video on YouTube. So that's pretty exciting. I've actually stuck to this for a year, which is not like me. I usually give up on stuff pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and thank you guys a lot for the support that you've shown me. It's been great getting to talk to some of you guys and discover that I do have some friends on here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.